It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, March 24th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that does not love having lost a fifth game in a row and still have no power play goals in the month of March.
What are you going to do?
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials, and of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to get the latest on Alex Bump and Jett Luchanko a little bit later in the show, as well as name our Nemesis of the week because it's Monday and we love to do that on Mondays. Rough weekend, though, for the Flyers. And I think, it can't start anywhere else but with the goaltending, right?
Yeah, the goaltending is just askew. And it's a reason why last show I was said that they should draft a goalie in the first round because they should get the best goalie in the draft, because regardless of who's in the pipeline, you don't know how it's going to turn out. And right now, the early returns, it's not early anymore for Sam Ersson, but even for Fedotov is probably neither's a number one. So you already now have to start looking deeper. And so at this point, yeah, the goaltending depth is going to start to be in question a little bit until guys either develop or they don't.
Right. I was very intrigued by the fact that Tortorella decided to pull Fedotov on Saturday, but not on Sunday. And in the
Yeah.
post game on Sunday, Torts talked about it, saying he thought about it, but didn't pull the trigger. And part of me gets it because what good was it going to do in a game like
Right.
that? First off. And secondly, he's probably saving Urson, who did perform well in relief on Saturday for the Toronto game, which
Right.
makes a ton of sense. So, I'm not mad about it at
Nah.
all. And I think there's going to be some people out there that are glad the Flyers lost to the Blackhawks
Oh, there's plenty.
because of the draft status issue. I just honestly and that brings me to kind of the next main point of these two games is the Dallas loss was obviously so much better than the Chicago loss because they actually did play very well for the most part in that game, and it was a close game.
They did. No, they played well, and it just didn't turn out their way. But that was a game where they were in it. It was a tie game, playing against a really good team. No, they were fine in that game. The only thing I think that rubbed fans the wrong way in that game, and I was kind of mildly annoyed, was, John starts talking about being in the room and telling the guys, a positive message, but he can't tell anybody the message because it's in the room. And it's like, people are tired of that. They really are, because it's like they need a little transparency. If you're going to go and tell everybody you said something good, then tell them what you said.
Right. I think it would be helpful
Yes.
to a large degree. I mean, he did say, "Oh, I praise them," or he said something along those lines, but he didn't get into any
No,
details.
he
And
said
I
nothing
think,
after that.
yeah, and I think it would be good because I think that saying more good things in public about especially individual players who are actually doing well will go a long way to helping their confidence, and I think team cohesion in a
Yes.
lot of ways, because I think for Torts to be public about his praise, we know is a very rare and special thing a
Correct.
lot of times, and it helps. It absolutely helps. So
Yeah,
I'm
everybody's a
with you on
human.
that.
Like they would like to hear something positive in public when they deserve it, and they deserved it.
Right. Now, I think there are two guys that deserve some public praise, especially. The first is Travis Konecny,
Hmm.
goals in both games. I think that he definitely looked more like himself. And he
He
said
did.
post game after the Dallas game that he was going to the inside a
Hmm.
little bit more. And absolutely. I noticed that very particularly, and because we had seen him, he was just skating to the
Yeah,
outside,
he
was
wasn't
taking
pushing it.
bad angle
No.
shots, wasn't pushing it, was kinda deferring to Michkov in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
even though Michkov was deferring to him,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was like this thing back and forth. Now, it was good to have them out there at the same time for more of the
Sure.
action though, right?
I agree. Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good for Michkov, and it's definitely good for Konecny. I mean, he should be playing with the best talent that he can on that team.
Mhm.
He shouldn't always have to be the guy trying to make things happen.
Yeah, and then Michkov is obviously the other guy,
Right.
right? Because he's just continuing to play his game out there. Sometimes he's dishing it off, but other times now he's taking the shot himself. I think he's getting slightly better opportunities than he was because of that, and he's just doing his thing. He now has 50 points. He got 2 assists on Sunday, making his assist total 30. He's got 20 goals, and I think that's a really important benchmark for him.
It is. And offensively, he looks really good. The only thing is you could see he's immature as far as penalties because he tried to hide the fact that it was kind of a dirty play with Connor
Mhm.
Murphy. And you can't do that. Refs aren't going to
Right.
fall for that. They don't care if you're going to be a star player. And so he has to be a little better about that and has to mature a little with that.
Yeah, and we've seen other great players behave like that in their early
Yes.
seasons. It's
Yes.
nothing new.
No, no,
It's
no.
how good yeah, it's how guys adjust to the game, and,
Yeah.
I think it's okay for now. It's not great, but it's fine for now,
For now.
just as long as it's a point of learning, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah. That's all.
So I do think that overall, we're gonna have Michkov's season be probably the brightest star of the season
Yeah. There's no doubt.
as far as the looking at this season in retrospect when all is said and done. And so I think again, putting him and Travis Konecny on the same line together for the remainder of the season is probably a helpful thing to do.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's how you develop them.
Now, beyond that, not much good to say. Maybe it was good that Sanheim got a goal, but the game was such a mess that it's hard to elevate
Yeah.
that much at all. But I will say we have to talk about the power play being over 30 in the month of March. That is a devastating statistic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, it's disappointing that it took until now for John to say something publicly like, "Hey, the power play stinks." He didn't say it like that, but he said, "Hey, Chicago's power play scored and it was good and ours wasn't." And it's like, John,
Mhm.
it's been like this for 2 years and now it's hit rock bottom even when you were at rock bottom before. And it's
Yeah.
like, again, you still have games left this season and this just adds frustration to the young players and to any player when they had this kind of problem on a team. And you know part of it is again getting in the zone. It's like maybe you should just practice that for a whole practice and have have your defenseman go up against your power play and practice the zone entries because sometimes they're abysmal.
Yeah, they just don't have a plan. It's
No,
very clear that
they
they
had
don't have a
players that
plan.
could do it.
Right, and even when they get set up, which is rarer these days,
Yeah,
right? But even when they get set up, there's nothing going. They're passing the puck, and, every so often we see Jamie Drysdale skate the blue line, and it looks
right,
like there's potential for him to find a seam, but the other guys don't move.
right.
They're stagnant, and,
Puts
like,
put Tippett
you can't do that.
on his shooting side, leave him there,
Mhm.
even if it's on the second power play, don't put him on the other side. Like there's just some kooky things that have gone on all throughout this time that just don't make sense.
Yeah, and I mean, Owen Tippett is a point of conversation as
Yeah.
well, and, we are gonna talk about him and more about these weekend games, as well as get into the next steps for Alex Bump and Jett Luchanko coming up next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, and each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feel full longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack. I have some at my desk, and a little ways back, I had some friends over for a movie night. Instead of popcorn, we passed around all the different varieties they have, and everybody loved them all. But the Wonderful Pistachios chili roasted no shells and the sea salt and vinegar no shells were by far the biggest hits. So delicious and healthy, too. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein. It provides all 9 essential amino acids. These little green wonders pack a protein punch. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. On tomorrow's show, we will be previewing the next game up against the Toronto Maple Leafs and our old friend Scott Lawton. Feels like he's been gone forever at this
He's
point.
struggling too.
I know. Tough going for him at the moment. Plus, it'll be Phantoms Tuesday. Kind of a dicey week for the Phantoms, but there were some good little
There
things
was
to
some
come
good.
at it from individual players, including Alexei Kolosov, I think. So very excited to talk about that. Plus, we'll be answering your mailbag questions on the Wednesday show. So make sure to get those in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. Send us a message on any of our socials or comment on our YouTube channel. So Owen Tippett, Russ, got demoted big time in Sunday's game on the fourth line there, and like didn't play the tail end of Saturday's game either.
Mhm.
Very clearly a decisive benching on John Tortorella's part. I gotta say, at this point in the season, what does that do for Owen Tippett?
It does nothing. I mean, it's not going to help him get mad and get back on track. It's not like he's not trying. I think there's
Right.
two things at play here. I think it's clear that the Flyers overestimated what they thought they had in Owen Tippett, and based on that, I think John's expectations of him maybe be a little bit beyond what he can do. All that said, he should be doing better, and he's not going to do better on the fourth line, although he did at least get a scoring chance for Jacob Peltier, which was something.
Yeah. Honestly, and Peltier at least again moved up the lineup, so they're getting a fair look at him now. I
Right.
don't know if he's like rising particularly to the occasion. I think he's playing well, but I don't know that he's like standing out
Yeah,
in an
not yet.
extra special way yet. But I want to give him a little bit more
Yeah, he
time on
deserves
that.
a chance. That's all.
Yeah, but like with Owen Tippett, his last goal was March 8th against Seattle. He's got 1 assist. That's it in his last 8 games. And yeah, I mean, it's real tough. I think he thrives when everybody else is thriving around him. He's definitely a guy that goes as the wind blows with
Yeah,
the
there's no
team.
question. You're right, but he's now gotten paid to be one of the drivers, and so
Right, and he's not.
he's
He's
not.
definitely not. He's a
And he-
follower. He can be very good, but he's a follower for sure.
right, and he's now getting paid as a play driver, and so like now there's this thing like I think their thought was he'd be a 30-goal scorer, and I
Mhm.
think what we find out is it's hard to score 30 goals in this league. Like it
Right.
is. There may be a lot of them, but there's a reason that some of these guys score 30 goals. And you could see that just consistency for him, still shooting percentage, hitting the net. Maybe it's a little better, but it's not good enough. And even now, like there's fewer rushes with him down the ice trying to, create something with his speed. You might get one of those a game now.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. I will give an honorable mention to Ryan Paling
Mhm.
because again, he's been a post-trade deadline bright spot on this team.
He
And I
has.
thought his game against Dallas was really, really
Really good.
strong.
No, that was an
Yeah,
excellent game for him.
that goal was filthy.
Except the
And
one dumb thing by the coaching staff. Putting him out to take a face-off in overtime
I
was
knew
definitely
it.
a recipe for disaster, and it only took 9 seconds.
Yeah,
Like
listen though, I knew you were gonna say that and I looked up the face-off
It doesn't
comparison
matter.
for that game. I understand that maybe in the high pressure situation of the OT face-off, maybe he wasn't, but statistically, he was by far the best at face-offs for the Flyers that entire game. So I understand why they did it.
I
It
don't.
still was
I
probably
understand.
not the right move.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this may be one time where they looked at the stat sheet, but overtime is its own animal. I think we all know that.
Yeah, everybody else was 50% or under, and he was at 64% for
Right.
the game.
Possession is just as important as winning the faceoff,
know.
and they never had possession.
I know, but still, excellent game
Unpredictable.
overall.
I know. It's okay.
By Ryan Poehling there. So good job by him in that game.
Yeah.
All right. So turning our attention to a couple of the Flyers' top prospects out there, as we are in Frozen Four territory right now. Alex Bump comes up again. We talked about him a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Flyers to-do list, and signing him to an ELC is on that to-do list, and it's going to happen as soon as his season is over. But his season is not over yet. He scored the game-winning goal in the second overtime for Western Michigan to win the NCHC tournament against Denver. He scored earlier in that game. Huge comeback win for Western Michigan, and Alex Bump was just a very key part of that victory.
Yeah, I just think the coach goes overboard. He calls him a superstar. He's his superstar. He's not going to be a superstar. I just want to say that, and I think that's fair. Look, he's a good player. He looks marginally faster. He still needs to have better foot speed. He gets away with a lot because he's smart and at times physical and at times plays good defense. So all those things work out in the college game. I will tell you that if his season ended tomorrow, I would only give him one pro game, and I still would send him to Lehigh and let him go on a playoff run with them. And I think people are expecting the opposite, but that's not the way you do it. And for a guy like that, that's not the way you should do it.
I totally agree. Now, he's got 4 games in a row with goals, and he's going to be moving on to the Frozen Four tournament, having won NCHC, and Western Michigan is going to face Minnesota State in the Fargo section of the bracket that starts this Thursday. I expect the competition to be up-leveled even from the NCHC tournament a little bit. And I think watching him over this Frozen Four tournament, Western Michigan could get knocked out in the first round here.
Definitely.
I mean, it's very
it's reaching a competition level that they're having a little bit of magic right now. I don't know how long it's going to last. I kind of wish that game was in Allentown because I can't make it to Fargo.
I know. Well, Penn State has to play in Allentown. Maine is going to be.
Yeah, Maine.
They're playing Maine. Maine is really good. They just won the Hockey East tournament first time in program history. So that was really cool.
Which is surprising because when they had Paul Correa, it's surprising they didn't win it then.
They did not, but they did this year. But at any rate, I think we're going to see him in an elevated level of competition. And I think that will help reset expectations a little bit. Still think he deserves the ELC. He should absolutely go straight to maybe one game for the Flyers, like you said, and then go straight to Lehigh. I think that's the correct move here. Now, also in the Frozen Four tournament, Devin Kaplan and Boston University, although he's not really a huge part of that team and isn't going to get signed this year, but BU faces Ohio State in their first game in that tournament.
And Ohio State's really good.
They're very, very good. None of the other Flyers prospects in college hockey right now made the tournament. So their seasons are done for the moment. And we had vaguely talked about Cole Knuble being the only other option to get an ELC. We'll see what happens with that moving forward.
And I was going to say, are you going to mention Owen McLaughlin?
Yeah, so he plays for North Dakota, which was one of the teams that Western Michigan beat on their way to the NCHC championship there.
Yeah, McLaughlin, it looks like he's gained some muscle, which is good. He's always good on the power play. I think there's a little bit of pushback in him now that didn't used to be there,
Mhm.
but he does sort of still disappear in games a little bit. So again, they drafted him out of high school. He was always going to be a longer project guy. So I don't think he'll get
Right.
signed. I think he should go back. But he's getting better. I don't know if he'll be a pro or not. Like he'll be an AHLer for sure, but an NHLer,
Right.
I don't know yet.
And then with Jett Luchanko, his season is officially done now with Guelph. A couple weeks
Right.
ago when we were talking about it, it was this close to being done, and
Yeah.
now he's officially done. And the question remains, should he go back to junior next year? Should he try it again with the Flyers this upcoming year and then maybe gets sent back again? Should they try to get him on a different OHL team? There are so many different paths here.
Yeah, there are a lot of different paths. I think, the first thing is if you could get him traded, then let him go through training camp. If you want to give him 9 games, give him the 9 games, and then let him go to his new team. That's what I would do. I know fans just want to put him in the lineup, and he'll look probably pretty good and almost good enough, but you don't want him to just sort of survive the NHL in his first
Right.
season. If he's not ready to thrive, I don't think it's time to put him in there. So that's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I think I wanna see if we can get him traded first before I
Right.
make any options, so at least his rights in the OHL are with a more successful
Right.
team, and that won't happen until after the Memorial Cup.
Right. Now the
So,
Flyers could kind of play along around with that and kind of tell Guelph, well, he might make the team and keep him with them for a while, and that may force Guelph to trade off his rights.
listen, do it, Danny. That's all I gotta say is
Yeah.
make it
You
happen
gotta
because
you gotta do stuff like
we
that
want
sometimes for your
2 good
player.
options for him,
Yeah.
right? We want
Yeah.
the good option of him being with the Flyers. We want the good option of him having the ability to go back to the OHL
Yeah.
for a good team, and I that's where we have to be with him for sure. But, it is Monday, and of course, that means it's time for our nemesis of the week, and we will get to that coming up next.
Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you could just use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And you'll find things you never knew about your spending habits. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
All right. So, with our nemesis of the week that we do each and every Monday, if you're newer to the show, we talk about who or what in the world of the Flyers or hockey or just the world is bugging us and is worrying us for this upcoming week. Last week, I talked about all the Alex Ovechkin goal record content and how it was oversaturated, and I was just done with it. I'm still done with it, and it's just, Can we move on? I will be so excited when he breaks the record and we're done. You are, on the other hand, we're not excited about coins. You thought
Nope.
that we should, in America, get rid of coins entirely.
Dump them.
And I made a couple arguments against that point in terms of collecting and honoring people and having things that cost less than $1 or even less than $2 where you need some coins. You need 6 quarters to buy a soda. That would be great. Something like that. So I do think coins have
I
their
met you
value.
halfway. I said, okay,
Yeah.
half the production. There you go.
Right. Right. Now, this week for me, it has to go back to the Flyers goaltending conversation because all of this is making me revert back to all of the goaltending drama that the Flyers have had these many years. And it
Yep.
just goes way back. And, people will say there's a curse that goes back to Pelly Lindbergh. I
No.
don't believe in curses
No.
like that. Sometimes I do, but not like that. And, you look at all the different goaltenders that the Flyers have had and even some of the greater ones have been traded away. You look at
Hmm.
Ron Hextall even got traded
Yep.
away, and then you see Bobrovsky got traded away and won a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And there's been several goaltenders. Anthony Stolarz went elsewhere and had some success. Alex
Yep.
Lyon went elsewhere and had some success. Like the list just keeps going on here. And all of that together makes me worried that the Flyers are going to make a rash move when it comes to goaltending. And they're going to either make a trade, a free agent signing for, I'm not saying Peter Mrazek, but I'm saying a Peter Mrazek like
Right.
goaltender,
Yeah.
something along those lines. It won't be him, but like
No.
something along those lines to try and put a band-aid on this off season. And I think it would be a waste of cap space. It would be a waste of a roster spot. Like I know we have to figure this out, but that is not the solution here. And I really, really am starting to get scared they're going to do something last minute or crazy like that.
I get that. So I'm going to bring up something. I don't know if it's just South Jersey related or if it's around the country, but we'll see based on your reaction and everybody else's reaction. I'm getting tired of pizza places and like little shops like bagel shops charging 4% to the customer if they don't pay cash. There's two things about this. The first thing is we were supposed to become a cashless society with cards. And also then your employees don't have to make a drop and risk their lives going to the bank. So there's that. Now these places are forcing, because I'm going to carry cash. Screw you if you think I'm paying that 4%. I'm not doing it. So I don't get it. There used to be a thing called the cost of doing business. And yes, if that's what your credit card deal is to get your credit card transactions in line, then pay the 4% and don't pass it on to the customer. Because I think it's a horrible thing to do. And everybody puts the sign up like, hey, thanks for doing this. And nobody's happy about it. And if people don't know, you go into a place for the first time and all of a sudden they read that sign, they may never come back. And so like, I just think it's bad form and I don't like it and they shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know there are some places. So I've said this before, but I live in New York City, and there are some places here that have like a $10 minimum in order to use a card because
I'm
of
okay
those
with that.
fees. Yeah, and I think
Minimum's
that's
different.
reasonable.
That's reasonable.
I think that is reasonable. I do remember when I first moved back to New York, a little over 10 years ago now, which I can't believe. There were so many more places that were cash only than now. Like over the last decade, almost every place is essentially cashless. Now there are some spots that are still cash
Right.
only. There's some diners, there's
Right.
some like there are some bodegas that have like a $10 minimum
Probably
and that
McSorley's Ale House is probably still cash.
yeah, I haven't been there, but I could be. But
It's one of
at
the
any
older
rate,
ones in the United
I get
States.
it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think that it's a reasonable thing for a business to do, but I think more and more things are changing, and I think even those like passing that fee along to the customers is going to go away, and they're going to hide it in the cost of the items as opposed to mentioning
Then do
the
that and
fee.
I'll decide based on your price whether I want to go there or not. But don't
Yep.
just outwardly
Yeah.
tell me I'm paying for your credit card transaction cost because I'm not in for that.
I mean, I think that's fair. I think it is the cost
That's
of
not my
doing
problem.
business,
Yeah.
and there are other ways to mitigate it. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing, but I think the logic and the sentiment is the same. Like I'm a generally big tipper, unless
Oh,
like you mess
there's a
unless you
whole show
mess
about
up
it.
really royally, I'm gonna give you a generous tip, but I will not tip on the tax. I think that's like it's weird
I
to
don't blame you. I just do
include
it.
the tax
I
on
just
the
do it because I don't
tip.
mind giving extra just because I was in the service industry.
Right,
But
give extra anyway, but
yeah, but
like
if you want to watch something on that, you could
yeah,
watch Last Week with John Oliver that had a whole segment about tipping. It's wild what's going on
yeah,
out there with tipping.
I know, I get it. But yeah, so much nuance with that conversation as well as there is with the Philadelphia Flyers and what is the best thing for them next. That includes what to do with the prospects in Lehigh. We're going to talk about them tomorrow. We're going to talk about Scott Lawton and the Toronto Maple Leafs and their drama day to day, which is exacerbated by being in the Toronto market. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions, let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology at the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. It brings you daily league-wide stories that matter with local coverage you love from Locked On. I'm there on Fridays and then also on Saturday for the Women's Hockey Report. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.